Hi, I'm Kathy from Absolutely Fabulous at Home, and today I wanted to show you some scales. Scales have become a very popular way to measure your dry ingredients in particular when you're baking. So most of us are used to this. We get our measuring cup out, we scoop out a cup of flour, level it off, that's our cup of flour. But we live in a very humid climate here in the Annapolis Valley, and what most of us don't realize is that humidity adds weight. So when you are scooping out your cup of flour, say in July, versus scooping it out in December, you could have two very different weights. You'd have the same volume, but you'd have different weights. And in baking, which is a science, there's a ratio of how much leavening, which is your yeast or your baking powder or baking soda, you need to the dry ingredients. So obviously, if your flour is heavier in July, it's going to require more leavening, or your biscuits are going to be flatter, or your bread is not going to rise the same way. They've known about this a long, long time in England. And in England, they don't necessarily use the measuring cups for dry ingredients. They use scales. Because when I weigh my dry ingredients, I'm always going to have the same weight. So if I'm supposed to have 100 grams, 100 grams is 100 grams. And it's always going to be the perfect ratio of the weight of, say, flour to my baking soda. There are so many scales. And scales are used for many things. You use scales when you're canning goods and you need 5 pounds of tomatoes or 4 pounds of green peppers. Lots of reasons to weigh. Portion control is another one. Many different scales. This one from Good Grips is unique in the fact that the little digital readout actually pulls out. So if I'm doing, say, tomatoes, and I've got 15 pounds of tomatoes on this scale, and I have a great big bowl on here, obviously I'm not going to be able to read it. But now I can pull this out, and it's connected with a cord to the scale, and I can actually see my readout without the bowl covering it. And it's a stainless steel cover, which makes it very easy to clean. Maybe you're doing something a little bit smaller and you want the bowl included. This one from Cuisinart actually comes with a stainless steel bowl that sits on the scale. You can use it without, but it folds over the scale for compact storage, which is very nice. And most of them go to 11 pounds. That's a pretty standard with most scales. This one is your old-fashioned scale. You kind of might remember this. It's called a mechanical scale. So if you don't want to rely on something battery operated, it won't be as precisely accurate. For instance, you won't be able to get to probably 1 gram or 5 grams. But if you're looking for a general, I need, 250 grams of something, or you're weighing fruits and vegetables, this one's very accurate as well. It works on tension. Those are some of the larger ones. Then there are some lovely smaller ones, very compact. This one's black glass. Again, it goes up to 11 pounds or 5 kilograms, but it measures in increments of a gram. So that's very important if you are measuring something very, very precisely, like small batch baking. Or maybe you make something special for your dog and you need to know how much of each ingredient goes in for that particular diet, or for yourself. They could sell scales for all kinds of reasons. The other feature that's important on something that is a digital is that something called tare, and you might remember that from your high school science days. When you tare something, you bring the number back to 0. So I might have a bowl on here with some flour in it, and now I need to add, say, 15 grams of salt or baking powder or whatever my next ingredient is. I can hit the tare button, it takes it back to 0, and I can add my next ingredient up to the measure that I'm looking for. So this one's quite compact. This one, quite compact as well, a little bit bigger, and a nice smooth glass surface, and it's round. For some people, round just seems to work better. And one of our favorites, this little guy. So this one is a max of 16 ounces or 500 grams. But if you are doing portion control and you want to know, say, how much meat you're eating, or how much potato, all of that you can portion control by putting your bowl or your plate on here and weighing that. And depending on your recipe, you might want to weigh it cooked or raw. It just depends on what you're looking for. So follow your own directions there. But very compact, so easily portable if you travel a lot and you're still wanting to maintain that control, or you just are doing projects, science projects. Sometimes there are crafts where you need to weigh things and you just need a little scale. So scales are important. Even Zwilling, the knife guys, are now into scales, and this one is gorgeous. This one is comes with a rechargeable lithium battery. So much like your cell phone, you plug this one in, which is really great because now you're not replacing batteries, you're just recharging them. So whatever it is you need to measure, if you're a baker, it's time to get into scales.